Hi everybody, Rochelle here from Quebec, CICHLIDS. Today I will be giving you a beginner's guide to one of the most misunderstood fish in the hobby, the betta. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss this video. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to invite you to subscribe to the channel. I post plenty of fishy videos, so make sure to subscribe not to miss a single one. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rochelle and I own a local fish store in Terrebonne, Quebec. That is right outside of Montreal. I'm open to the public, and if ever any of you want to stop by, well, don't be a stranger. Last month we did something great at the store and we set up a betta cabinet. Basically a cabinet where I'll be able to hold a lot more bettas than I usually did. And I honestly do love this fish and I love how unique each and every one of them are. Thanks to this cabinet, I'm able to have a wider selection for my clientele. If you're interested in learning more about this awesome cabinet that I modified to give the fish more room for their stay in my store, go check out the video I made about that. I'll be linking it in the video and the video description. So back to the subject. Out there on the internets, there is so much bad information and misconceptions about bettas, and it's extremely harmful to fish. I say on the internet, but also when you go to a local fish store or your pet shop, they might not be able to give you the best information to give the best care for this fish. So in this video, I will try and give you a better understanding of this fish and help you to set up an aquarium that will make your fish happy, healthy, and you'll be able to keep him a long, long time. So what is a betta? Well, there are many different species of bettas on the market, but the most popular one that you will encounter at your local fish store is the Betta splendens. This species has been line bred to achieve beautiful tail shapes in the male specimens. You will often find bettas under different names that aren't splendens because they just assume they all are. You'll find half moon, double tail, crown tail, Dumbo, and a bunch more. All this, obviously you understood, it's the shape of their tail. That's what it describes. Most of the betta fish you will find at your local fish store are males. Occasionally we're able to get our hands on some females, but they're a lot rarer and they're a little bit less colorful and have smaller tails than the males. So this will make them a little less attractive for the casual aquarist who doesn't have breeding bettas in mind and just wants something flashy for the aquarium, which is totally fine. That's fine. That's why you're watching this video. You want to learn how to take care of this fish, so that's cool. When you're thinking of a betta, keep in mind that you're often thinking of the males, rarely the females. So now that you've chosen which kind of betta you want in your aquarium and what kind of aquarium you want, so now you're gonna have to feed this fish because this fish wants to eat, and these are in the wild. They are insectivores, meaning that they will hunt the tiny insects that glide on the water. So in the aquarium they are super easy to feed. I feed them Northfin Betta Bits or community formula depending on what's available. Northfin is a higher quality food that is available in Canada, so if ever you're watching this and you're not from Canada, maybe there is a high quality food that's made for bettas that's available at your local fish store. Don't be shy to ask them. Basically, a higher quality food means that the ingredients that are in it are usually whole ingredients, such as whole shrimp, instead of just saying shrimp. Because if it's not written whole, you usually don't get the meat that's in it. You usually get like the tail and the carcass and all that stuff. So make sure whole ingredients when you're reading the ingredients list in your local fish store when you're shopping for your bettas food. And if ever you have trouble with this, I made a video a couple years back, but it's still good. You know, the information's there. So anyways, go check that one out. It's how to feed your fish and how to spot the best quality food. But in my local fish store, it's such a small store, so I don't have room for like 10 kinds of foods, and I always only push the best ones, so what's the point in getting the other ones that I'm not gonna push? So I just have Northfin and all of our fish are happy. If your betta is alone, take the time to gently make the pellets float so you can see their insect hunting technique. It's super zen. It's a zen moment in your day. It's awesome. But if they're in a community tank, just throw all the food in and they will eat it up anyways. Even if they're alone, they'll do that. It's just, I'm kind of a geek and fish geek. And I like to watch them eat and hunt their little pellets. And if you want to treat your fish, because who doesn't, you can feed them frozen krill or brine shrimp or any freeze-dried foods as well, or some with bugs in the recipe depending on what's available at your local fish store. So in the wild, these fish will live in ponds, shallow streams, and rice paddies. In the aquarium, you can't simply put them in a glass jar and call it a day. Even though the places that I mentioned, where they live are shallow, they're not small. They have a lot of room to swim. You might have heard of them living in a puddle, but that's just occasionally. They don't live like that their whole lives. So they do need a lot of room. Obviously, you can't offer them a whole rice paddy, but there are other options out there. So at your local fish store, maybe you might have seen them in small containers, like little cups and stuff, or little vases. But keep in mind that these are for transportation purposes. They're fine in there, but not for their whole life. Bettas are an extremely popular fish and will not stay on the shelves for long. So I'm not saying like if they kept them in there for 6 months, that's cool. That's not cool. I'm just saying they'll be fine in those cups, but just for transport. Why they survive in these cups is because of a special organ that they have that's called the labyrinth bladder. This permits them to breathe the air outside of the water at the surface, rather than going through the gills and just assimilating the air in the water, which is fine when they're in these cups because there's no water oxygenation. But it's a survival mechanism. So you don't want your fish to just survive in your aquarium. You want them to thrive. That's not why you got into fish keeping. So keep them in an aquarium with a filter, sufficient oxygenation, because yes, they still use their gills. And when you have a filter that helps generate beneficial bacteria, it'll make the aquarium a safe and healthy environment for your fish. If you don't have a filter, you'll often have ammonia or nitrite, which is toxic for the fish. And now don't get me wrong, they don't need a powerful filter or like a Fluval 406 on a 10-gallon tank. No, like, calm down. You know, they just pretty much any basic filter will do. The best ones are those you bought at your local fish store because you are supporting local economy as well. So keep that in mind. So anyways, these fish don't generate a lot of ammonia, so you don't need anything fancy. For tank size and requirements, so this is extremely debated. I don't think I mentioned, but this is a controversial subject, but here's my input on it. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's fine. You can write about it in the comments section, and every interaction you make with my videos boosts my videos, gives me views, which is really good, would give me a bit of money. So do that if you're mad. Give me attention. Anyways, so technically where I was trying to go before I got horribly distracted is that the minimum tank size for a betta is technically 3 gallons. I have not ever sold a 3-gallon tank because that's it's still pretty small. So I prefer to keep them in minimum 5-gallon tanks, like the Fluval Spec, which is a fine tank for one betta, but you can't really put much else in it. Obviously you can add a couple plants, but no other fish really. It's not the best. You know, you can try maybe a couple of neon tetras, but it's not the best. And why I say 5-gallon minimum is usually because they have a pretty decent filtration on there, so the betta will be happy. Although at my store, I must admit, I very rarely sell the 5-gallon aquariums. People will leave with a Flex 9-gallon tank like this one that's at my in-laws' house. Since the tank is, well, practically twice as big as a 5-gallon, you can add more fish with them. In this case, they live with cardinal tetras. They have a little CICHLIDS in there as well to eat up the algae. As you can see in the video that I'm showing you, bettas, they should not be kept in an empty environment. Minimalism might be good for your home, but bettas, just like myself, as you can see, rather fill their house up with decorations and plants. Minimalism is dead, people. Fill up your house with plants. I mean your aquariums with plants. Okay, I'm definitely not straying off the subject here. So back to the subject. Build a nice aquascape for your betta using live plants. Or artificial plants if you're not good at live plants. I'm not here to judge, you know, you do what you think is nice. You can add rocks and you can add wood as well if you don't have a green thumb, you know, you can make something nice out of your tank. Give them a nice home. Avoid using coral rocks as these will raise the pH of your water. They're mainly made for African cichlids and saltwater tanks, so just don't put that in your aquascapes. And how will you know if the rocks you have in your tank raise the pH? It's actually pretty simple. Just drop some vinegar on them and see if they react. I tried taking a video, it didn't work. It's like the volcanoes you made in grade school, but less interesting. Because like practically nothing happens and you have to have your ear like right up against the rock for it to work. As for the substrate, it can be anything but coral substrate for the same reasons as the rocks, because of the pH. So either you can get a colorful substrate if you want, or if you want live aquatic plants, invest in a substrate that's specialized for plants. But you know, if your kid wants a pink betta with some pink rocks, I don't sell pink rocks, I say blue rocks, whatever, get them what they like. You know, it's their tank and it's fine for them. As for lighting, bettas don't need a strong light, but they will color up more if you add a lighting ramp to your aquarium. So since these fish come from shallow waters where they spend their days under the hot sun, they like light. So really brings out their colors. It doesn't have to be something powerful because it's right above the aquarium, but aquarium lights will bring out colors, definitely. Make sure the light is closed at night to help with their circadian rhythm, because if you don't, well, your fish will be extremely stressed out. If you're not there to turn off the light, well, just invest in a really cheap aquarium timer. Just any lighting time, any timer really. It's not complicated technology, it's old stuff. Bettas will thrive in soft water. So if your water is from a well, you might find it tough to keep your bettas healthy. If you have well water and you're willing to invest a little bit more in aquariums, you might as well just start off with a 30-gallon, make a small African cichlid tank. That's like most of my videos on my channel, so definitely just go watch the other videos, because you'll find it hard to just keep any tropical fish in well water. As for city tap water, most of it is fine. Obviously depends on where you're from, but most potable drinking water is fine. Like, let's say we're talking specific water parameters. As for pH, for water pH, it can vary from 6.5 to 8, so that's really all tap water. If your tap water is outside of that range, maybe you shouldn't be drinking it either. The most common issue with water parameters and bettas does not come from the tap water, it actually comes from maintenance, and it's problems with ammonia, nitrite, or nitrate. Ammonia and nitrite usually appear when there's insufficient filtration. You don't need a lot of filtration for bettas, but you still need some. So if you don't have adequate filtration, you'll have ammonia. So if that's the case, invest in a better filter. Ammonia and nitrite stress out the fish and can make them prone to a plethora of diseases like fungus, parasites, bacterial infections, you name it. Like, you could treat with medicine if ever that's available where you are, but really you have to fix the problems in the aquarium water before even thinking of medicating your fish. I have a video on how to remove ammonia and nitrite in your aquarium right up here and in the video description. So if ever that's your problem, don't panic. Happens to the best of us. Go watch that video though. Like, now. Like, leave this video. But no, finish this video. And then go watch the ammonia and nitrite. You have your work cut out for you. As for nitrate, that's the last thing that I mentioned. This occurs when you have poor maintenance habits. I'm not here to judge, but you need to change your aquarium water and not just top it off when it evaporates. Because fish feces don't evaporate, they just end up being more and more concentrated as time goes by. That makes your aquarium inhospitable for your fish. You might not notice it because you've been doing it for a while and everything is fine, but nitrate is a slow killer, and you'll probably only notice the symptoms in a while when they're used to living in shit. But of course it takes a toll on their body, and eventually they will weaken and they won't be able to live like that anymore, and they will wither and die. So do regular water changes to avoid this. And if you want to know more about nitrate control, well, I also conveniently have a whole video about this. So again, up here in the video description, but after having watched this video, because I still have fun stuff that I'm going to talk about. I'm not done. Bettas are compatible with easygoing community fish. They aren't very good swimmers, obviously, because look at those beautiful tails. They're there to be pretty, not to be efficient. If the other fish are too aggressive in your aquarium, your bettas will have a hard time. So it's usually the bettas that have a hard time, not the other ones, even though they're called fighting fish. It's the other guy you have to worry about. Also, because bettas are such slow swimmers, they're usually the last ones to get to the surface to eat. So if you have them with quick fish such as danios, make sure that they're getting enough food because they might not be eating. So you have to worry about them getting their butt kicked and about them just not being fast enough to eat. That's usually what we have to look for in compatibility issues. If they aren't getting enough food, well, just simply target feed them in their hiding spot and it'll strengthen them up and get them used to eating upstairs. So this being said, they aren't compatible with most cichlids, as the cichlids are a lot stronger and will kill them instantly. As for compatibility within bettas, well, the males shouldn't be kept with any other bettas, whether they be other males or females. If you want a male, you get one male. That's it. Well, if you're thinking, well, they have to breed at one point, well, yeah, they do, but that's like a whole other subject. And when people breed them, they usually don't leave the males and females together for too long. I know some aquarists who've had success at keeping one male with a couple of females, but I really don't suggest trying it out. For the males again, they should not be added with guppies either, especially those with big tails, because they look too much like other bettas. I mean, they don't really, but in their eyes they do. So the male bettas could be aggressive towards the guppies, and the guppies would not win in this case. I've often kept them with smaller tail guppies, like endlers, with success. So that works, but just not the big-tailed guppies. As for the females, the betta females, they can be kept together in a school. They can be added with guppies also without any issues. It's a very fun fish, but like I was saying earlier, they don't have as big tails, they're not as colorful, but they're a lot of fun to keep as well. Some of you might be saying, and I hear this a lot, so I know some of you are thinking it because you're probably not talking to the camera because this is a video, but thinking it's called a fighting fish. So why am I saying that they're compatible with other fish? Well, the story behind this is honestly just horrible. So keep in mind, getting into the story, that humans are garbage. So because male bettas will fight each other up to the death, people would host special events like cockfights and gamble on the outcome. Hence their name fighting fish, because they would make them fight. Obviously this is animal cruelty, I'm completely against it, but you asked, so here's your answer. That's why they're called a fighting fish. So don't make them fight at home, give them a nice home, and this fish will get along with other fish that they're compatible with. So that's it for today. I think you learned what you need to learn about bettas. Don't go watching any other videos online, you know everything now. There's nothing else to learn. I'm just kidding. You know, hats off to you for doing your research and searching about your fish's needs before actually buying them, or, you know, it happens if we do it after buying them, but good on you for going to that local fish store after watching this video and getting a big enough tank for your betta. I see you. So this is the time in the video where I tell you to write your betta stories in the video description. I love hearing them. What did you keep your bettas with and how did it go? How long was it? Tell me about your favorite fish. I love reading your comments, so really keep it up. So if you like this video, obviously I'm not posting every week like I did before. Life changes, and I started this in 2017. Life is different now in 2021, so I can't do it every week, but I am always happy to do it and I'm not done. So if you want more fishy content in between my videos, you can follow me on social media. All the links are in the video description and obviously on the screen. If you like this fabulous Fish Geek t-shirt, yes, for those of you following me, you know I'm really happy I found it. I had lost it for a couple videos and now I finally found it. So it was in with all my other clothes, who would have thought? Anyways, so yeah, you can get these awesome shirts in my Teespring store, and the shirts ship worldwide, and every shirt you get encourages me to continue doing what I'm doing, making videos, having an awesome local fish store, and living my life, which is pretty great. So thank you to everyone who supports me in my Teespring store, my YouTube channel, and in my actual physical store. That's in Terrebonne, Quebec, right outside of Montreal. You guys are the best. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye!